Atiku Abubakar is alleging intimidation and fighting of the opposition by the ruling APC and the Tinubu government. The Police Service Commission has ordered the immediate retirement of senior police officers in the midst of the controversies and the debate over the IGP Tenure and the Police Act as amended. A warm welcome to all of you wherever you may be watching. It's a Good Friday and we're welcoming you live to our broadcast of Politics Today live on Channel Television. I'm Sean Kimalo. Welcome to the program tonight. And we're bringing you up to speed with your major political stories across the land. Let's begin by bringing you up to speed with what we're following for you across the nation in our political roundup.
State Governor Abba Yusuf has vowed to fight corruption in the state, dramatically drawing a sword as a symbol of his readiness to tackle the challenges that may arise in the battle against corruption. The governor made a declaration during the commissioning of a road project in Rogo local government area of the state. The project, executed under the Kano Agro-Pastoral Development Project, KSADP, aims to improve the transportation of agricultural produce to markets, benefiting local farmers.
In live election promises, we have a robust plan to support in this area and bring about ease of doing businesses, especially in agriculture.
In Zamfara State, the 8 suspended members of the State House of Assembly have thrown their weight behind the minority leader of the House, Mr. Aliyu Kagara, whose seat was declared vacant on Tuesday by the Speaker of the House. Addressing journalists in Abuja, the suspended members warn that the State House of Assembly is heading for the rocks, as due processes are not being followed in the suspension of members. The lawmakers, who allege undue interference by the executive, calls on the National Assembly and security agencies not to turn a blind eye to the developments in Zamfara State. The convener of the National Opposition Movement Coalition, Mr. Segun Shoumi, has convened a town hall meeting in Enugu State, encouraging the residents to take alternative parties seriously in order to contribute to the sustainability of Nigeria's democracy. According to Shoumi, the movement is not about individuals or selfishness, but the collective good of the nation's future. He's asking the Easterners to move on from the past, dwell less on the civil war, and strategically build a force through unity and regional partnership.
We are going to be interested. We are going to jointly take a candidate, absence of tribalism and all this nonsense, and we are going to take the best of us to do what? To lead the rest of us.
A northern youth movement known as Tafi and Matasan Arewa, Bauchi State Chapter, is calling for the immediate unconditional release of Professor Usman Yusuf following his recent arrest by the EFCC. During a press briefing, the youth denounced the arrest as an affront on free speech and a distraction from critical national issues. They believe his arrest was politically motivated following his role in the launch of a political youth movement in Bauchi State last week. The PDP Governors Forum has reaffirmed its support for the subsisting court judgment on the issue of the party's national secretary. This formed part of the communique issued after a closed-door meeting by the governors. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, also called on the APC-led federal government to realign its macroeconomic policies to lessen the current hardship and pains on Nigerians. The forum also noted that it is delighted in the ongoing efforts at resolving the crisis in the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party.
The issue of National Secretary and other issues, we have stood firm. We know that there is a subsisting court judgment of the Court of Appeal, and of course we are working to make sure that it is resolved within 1 week.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. And those are some of the political roundup stories. So yesterday on the program, a member of the House of Representatives representing Plateau State in the House was speaking on the program, and he made a statement in respect of the performance of the governor of Plateau State and the development in that state. He said there are more federal presence than you will find a state government presence in the state. Of course, the state government has been reacting to some of what he said, and the response, the Commissioner for Information in Plateau State, Mr. Ashams, has been reacting and stating that some of the statement made by Honorable Yusuf Gagdi in respect of the development in the state is not true. Take a listen to him.
We know our people know us. He is feigning ignorance. Is it federal government that constructed the Utonkom Bridge? Rehabilitated Masalatin Juma, rehabilitated Zololo Road, Records, Unity Junction, Zaria Road, Tafawa Balewa Way, building material to Sabombariki. Is it also what he is saying? Today as we speak, the governor is going to be inspecting a market in Bukuru, ultra-modern market in Bukuru by 2 o'clock. So I don't know. Governance is a synergy. There are development partners. The federal government has a role, the state government has a role, and the local government too has a role. Governance is in layers, and when you bring people that are deep thinkers, people that understand governance, people that are ready for governance, you will find such things. There are international partners, international development agencies, federal government will come, state government will come. You even look for private sector to also inject in your economy so that your people will be happy, so that you make your people rich. It is deliberate. If you want your people to be rich, it must be deliberate. And that is what we're doing as a government.
Mr. Asham, the Commissioner for Information in Plateau, still responding to some of the statements made by Honorable Yusuf Gagdi on the program yesterday. So let's pick up from what Mr. Atiku Abubakar has been saying. He's been making allegations against the ruling party and the government of the day. First, he says that the government of the day is bribing opposition leaders with 50 million naira. But today, he's come out to say the Tinubu government is fighting opposition, not corruption. 2 days ago, according to him, he said the nation was jolted by the arrest of Professor Usman Yusuf, a fierce and unyielding social critic. In a statement released today by Mr. Atiku Abubakar, he says, though the charges against him have been festering since the previous administration, it is impossible to ignore the strong likelihood that his detention is politically motivated. The Tinubu government, despite being riddled with individuals who themselves are embroiled in scandals and investigations by both local and international authorities, continues to use the very machinery of the state to silence its critics. It weaponizes these pending investigations to suppress all opposition. It is absurd that while the administration shelters those under investigation, it continues to exploit state institutions to stifle dissent and under the false pretense of combating corruption. Even to the most inattentive, it has become glaringly clear that Tinubu is not waging a war on corruption. He is waging a war on the opposition, manipulating the system for his own political advantage. End of quote. So tonight, who are the people who are collecting 50 million naira bribe from the Tinubu government within the political leadership and opposition in Nigeria? Tonight, I have joining me one of the leaders of the opposition in Nigeria, and he's the national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, Alhaji Yusuf Dantale. He's live for us here in our studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Sharon.
Were you able to collect your 50 million naira? Because as the national chairman of IPAC, I imagine that you should be the first on the list.
Atiku Abubakar, he was the former vice president, an elder statesman, and a leader, and a father. We respect him so much. And if you wield such cap, we are putting on such cap, you have to be careful what you say, so that you don't unnecessarily heat up the polity. Yes, you might, you have your information as Atiku Abubakar, But that is not enough for you to come out and say all oppositions or all members of the opposition family collect 50 million. As far as I know, my parties are the Allied People's Movement. And today I manage the secretariat of the umbrella body of all the registered political parties in Nigeria. There is no national chairman, no leader anywhere collect any money that I know. So if you are coming out to say, okay, fine, so and so, and you give a lead to what you are saying is different, you have succeeded in creating mutual suspicion. So what I think Atiku Abubakar should do, with all due respect, is to either apologize publicly to opposition leaders in totality the same way he made this allegation, or he identify and mention opposition leaders who are involved in this rubbish. But for us in the Inter-Party Advisory Council, we are not aware of what Atiku is insinuating, sincerely.
Is it possible that you have been hoodwinked? Maybe some people are collecting this money and you are not aware of them.
It is a possibility. Anything is possible in politics. But what I'm saying, I'm restricting this to the Inter-Party Advisory Council, that's the 19 registered political that I know today. There is no such sign that anybody is taking that.
Have you been speaking with the leaders of all the other opposition parties? Your colleague and the chairman?
I've called some chairmen. I've spoken to the national chairman of SDP. I've spoken to the national chairman of YPP. I've spoken to the national chairman of PRP, national chairman of AA, national chairman of NRM, and it goes to a few, and YP. Nobody. Everybody seemed to be angry. It came to a point when I was not talking that as if I am involved in I know some of these things and I'm not ready to talk. It is embarrassing. And sincerely, we need apology from the vice president, or come out to identify, mention who are people involved.
It wasn't mincing words. And I like Nigerians to get this right. Atiku Abubakar was not mincing words, and he was not dwelling or stating that he heard from someone. This was not a case of hearsay. He was very direct and very succinct in his statement. And this is what he said, and I'd like to show our viewers once again. And quoting what Atiku Abubakar said on the day at that Democratic Development Conference, where he said, quote, "I want to say it here publicly. I met with our political party leadership in the present opposition, and they told me flatly that this government gives them 50 million naira each. If we are not careful, we are talking to some of you here, but you are recipients of the 50 million naira from the APC government. Do we really want to fight for democracy?" Those are some of the words that Atiku Abubakar said on the day.
Thank you. Yes, now in this situation, he claimed that some opposition leaders, it is possible that some persons who want to get money from Atiku too, and they went to him to say, okay, this is what this person is giving us, or these people are giving us, so you can give us something. But it will be fair to all of us in the opposition family that you mention or identify the people who are involved in this, because I don't know who is giving such money, and I don't know who is collecting it. I'm saying this between me and God. Because
the question here is that Nigerians are getting disappointed that those of you who are supposed to be in the opposition fight and put the feet of the ruling party to fire. Some of you have been carried away by bribery.
We are saying the same thing. And that is why this is capable of heating up the polity unnecessarily. So as an elder statesman and as a leader, you are not supposed to make this kind of utterance, because you are heating up the polity unnecessarily. Identify who, be sure of what you are saying, go directly to who the people you mean. But we are not aware of what he's saying. I don't know. And in the Inter-Party Advisory Council, for the other parties, I am not aware. But if he come, he will be helping us. If he identify, okay, this person, even if he doesn't want to mention directly, he can use a proxy to mention the people involved, or the parties, or the leaders involved in this thing. Sincerely, it is very unfortunate, and we are not happy about it.
Those who are worried now, Alhaji Dantale, as a face and a leader of the political party umbrella body IPAC in Nigeria, that those who believe that the opposition should be more active. It does look like the opposition is sleeping. It does look like the ruling party is having a field day and doing whatever he likes, and nobody is checking the ruling party. What exactly is going on? Are those of you in the opposition, are you sleeping? Have you forgotten your duty to the nation, to the Nigerian people? Or is it that Nigerians need to remind you about your role as opposition?
Thank you so much. This government is less than 2 years, and we should be able to separate politics from governance. While we want power, we should at the same time do this thing within an atmosphere of decorum. There's no perfect world, there's no perfect administration everywhere. And it is always good that when you are in power, what you want to see tomorrow while you are not in power, you should be able to plan that in today. If what we want to see of some of the people, if what we want to see today is what we planted yesterday while we were in power, we won't be here today. So the same thing, those in power today, if what you want to see tomorrow when you are out of power, plan that in today. If not the same thing you are, or others are complaining, you will be there to complain. Yes, we were talking about, or we have been talking about local government election all this while. You have people, or you have senators or governors who are now senators. But in the local government election, the same party that they won or they came victorious or the platform that give them the victory in the election, they could not win the councillorship position in one out of the multiple local government that gave them the seat as senators. So these are some of the things that we shouldn't look at laws or make laws that will benefit our immediate interest. So it has to be something that will be classical, that will cut across generations. Today, it is embarrassing that the President of the United States of America will come out and say, okay, we are deporting immigrants, illegal immigrants. A lot of Nigerians that we know, or I know, they are afraid, believing that they will return them back home. Why? But if we have a better economy, if we have a better system, this will not happen. While we welcome it, we should see it as a wake-up call to see that we put things right in our own society. You can't be in power forever. The highest anybody have stayed is a president or a governor, 8 years, except in the Senate. So I call on all of us, whether you are in power or you are out of power, we should put Nigeria first in all we do.
In the real sense of it, is Nigeria on the right track? Putting Nigeria first. Is, as an opposition leader, is Nigeria on the right track under the Tinubu government?
One, I am not in government, but I am aware that today you are also aware that there is hardship, there is difficulty in an average Nigerian that cannot feed or sustain himself with the basic salaries he gets. Look at the cost of energy and maybe agricultural inputs. Yes, the economy. But as from the explanation of people who are well grounded in economy, some of these things did not just happen now, but they have foundation from previous administration. Recently, we had the EFCC recovering about 700 and something building from one individual. I don't know who, or from the previous administration. That was the claim. So these are some of this money. Okay, the same thing. I think last week or so, or 2 weeks ago, that some funds were being repatriated from the United States or UK from the former minister. So some of these things are the cumulative effect of what we did yesterday. So if we want a better tomorrow, we should start it now. And this is not just about for those who are in power today, for those who were there yesterday, and those who intend to come. We must put Nigeria forward. The country is bleeding. Sincerely, Nigeria is not on the right track, but we need to do better.
And there are those who are thinking that the conversation about 2027 is already here, and any smart politician will start planning ahead of 2027. You wouldn't wait. But the big question here is, what is the alternative? Is the opposition, are they thinking in that direction about what will be best for Nigerians in 2027 or after 2027?
Mr. Sheung, we must discuss as Nigerians. there was PDP in government, and a group of political parties or political actors came together to form APC, from the ADC, NNPP, CPC, AP. So there are just three.
ANPP,
came up to put, and then they told Nigerians, we will do this in 6 months, we'll do this in 5 years, we'll do this in 2 years, we'll do this, we'll create this employment. It never happened. So the same thing, the people who are in opposition, who are clamoring to take power today, were the people in power yesterday. So we can't continue to do one same thing and expect different results.
But the question
we have to be sincere.
Yeah, Alhaji Dantale. If the people who are in power today are not doing it, doesn't look. And you said that Nigerians are suffering. Yeah, people are impoverished.
I didn't say you are aware.
Yeah, I mean, you attest to the fact that Nigerians are.
Yes.
The question is that what are you doing as opposition to put the feet of the ruling party to fire, about what is going on in the country?
In the words of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, he said, problems are like plants, they have roots. If you must solve a problem, you have to address the problem from the root. Most times what we do in this country is to address symptoms of problems. Okay, for instance, the government will embark on giving out foods, giving out money to people. No. For me, I think it is better to address, let the people be empowered to do what they can on their own. And how do you empower the people? You have to address the level of illiteracy in Nigeria today. Education have to be accessible. We have to begin to look at infrastructure, electricity or energy. If energy is not accessible to people, it will be difficult to industrialize. Yes, our leaders will go, or people in power will go out of the country to canvass for investment in Nigeria. No investor will come to invest in a society where the enabling environment for investment is not conducive. Who will come to invest? I'm sorry. This thing is the entire sector. We have to look at the judiciary. We have to look at the power sector. Everything. Because if you don't respect your own laws, the man who wants to come and operate using your own laws will be afraid. Because if you make your laws and break your laws and do what you want, I won't trust you to work within your own laws. So if you cannot provide energy and the cost of energy, how do I industrialize?
Let me ask you, it's almost 2 years of this administration. Let's assume this administration is going to be doing another exam in 2 years, but we are almost entering into the midterm of this administration. Within this 1 year plus, on almost 2 years, how would you judge, or how would you grade this government? Poor, pass, excellent, or what way? Let's assume 10 being the highest mark. How would you grade this government?
Thank you. Let me lay a foundation here. When I bought the SIM card I'm using today, I bought it 33,000 about in 2009 when it came.
Yeah,
when it came, yes, your Obasanjo. I bought it. Today's SIM card is almost free. We at times even give you airtime. When the issue of hike in petroleum came, my friend approached me and said I should bring one of my vehicles so that they will take it and convert it to CNG. I said, no, I won't. He said, why? I said, the price of petrol will naturally come down. And why? Because people will begin to innovate. The people who are in the petroleum industry today will not want to be out of business. Electric vehicles will begin to come up. I don't use electricity in any of my houses. I use solar, and they're doing well. So now they are losing business. More Nigerians are beginning to diversify into some of these things, and that will begin to make the people in power sit up. Because by the time your petrol becomes useless, nobody wants to buy. Is interested in your petroleum. Nobody is interested in your CNG. And people are beginning to improvise. You see the level of the number of electric vehicles coming to Nigeria this year is far higher than what we had 10 years ago. We don't even know anything about it. So now I believe the Nigerians that I know, or that we know, Nigerians will not allow themselves to go down. We will improvise. Things will get
But how
better.
do you grade them? 0 being the lowest, 10 being the highest.
The thing is, I'm not in government, but it is fair if I'm in government because before now, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi was the CBN governor. While he was, and that was like 15 years ago, and he said, with the volume of money stolen and the absence of accountability in our economy or in the petroleum sector, Nigerians, the next administration it is the next administration and the next administration that Nigerians will know what is poverty. The same thing Okonjo-Iweala said. So for me, whatever happened today, I always reflect on where it started from.
But do you think we're on the right track?
Well, I believe so.
You think this government is doing what is right?
I believe so.
I mean, I'm looking at the camera, and I'm imagining the faces of Rashida, Udokama, Rebecca, wherever they may be watching, Rashid, Shegun, and the rest who are watching in every part of this country, the kind of thing they're going through, whether or not the money in their pocket, the food on their table, whether or not they can afford, whether there is hope for them tomorrow. What they want to know is that maybe or maybe not, the government that they have in power today is on the right track. Maybe the suffering of today is going to be reduced or is going to dwindle as we go down the lane. But when they are not assured that the government knows what it's doing or can take them to the destination that they envision, that is where the problem is.
Mr. Sean, we are still going back to what I said earlier. We must learn not to address symptoms of our problems. We must, as long as we continue to address the symptoms of our problem, and we don't go back to the basics of the problem. So we cannot
blame Tinubu for the problem of Nigeria today?
No.
But his party has been in power for the last 10 years or so.
Excuse me. But if we must answer this question, we have to look at first the electoral system. How do people emerge? The electoral laws. Who are the people in power? Who are the people in the Senate? How did they get there? Who are the local government chairmen? How did they get there? Who elected them? So until we are able to address these things as Nigerians, we will not get out of where we are.
Let me allow you to respond to what Atiku Abubakar said today. And the former vice president is making an allegation. He's saying that there is intimidation, that this government is not fighting corruption, but this government is fighting opposition. He said, though the charges against Professor Yusuf has been festering, but he believes that the Tinubu government, despite being riddled with individuals who themselves are embroiled in scandals and investigations by both local and international authorities, continues to use the very machinery of the state to silence his critics. Do you think that this government, according to Atiku Abubakar, is weaponizing and using investigation or the agencies of anti-corruption to fight opposition for voices?
Professor Yusuf, I listened to him a lot in his public outing, and he's someone who stands about opposing things that are not, he thinks are not right, trying to see that things are, he's a nationalist, let me use that word, and pro-masses. But then, I won't say the government is weaponizing, the government is intimidating opposition. I don't know the case the government have against him. But even though, if I thought the government is trying to silence opposition, Nigerians will resist at the appropriate time.
So you don't think it's obvious just yet?
No.
You don't think opposition is threatened?
No. The reason is a few of the crises we have in the political parties now is the inability of some of the party leaders to abide by their own internal constitution. So you don't blame that on the government. So if you do what is right in your party, you won't have that problem. So, but if the government, if this government wants to stifle opposition, Nigerians will resist at the appropriate time.
So you look at the case of this Professor Yusuf, you look at the case of Omoyele Sowore, and
Omoyele Sowore, his problem is with the police. And you know, Omoyele Sowore has what he has always said about the current Inspector General of Police is that you are sitting there illegally. for this reason, for that reason. And the problem is with the police. So for me, even while I don't know the details of these things, I don't know Omoyele Sowore to be a criminal. I know him to be a pro-Nigerian. So if the IG is doing, if he's attacking or trying to arrest and detain Omoyele Sowore, he will be out of that place. How long will you stay? You will see the same thing. Many people who have done it.
So you don't think it's true that the Tinubu government is stifling?
I wouldn't want to.
And the voice of dissent.
I wouldn't want to conclude at this point. No, I will not.
All right.
Yes.
And based on that, Professor Yusuf, that is not conclusive. It can be conclusive.
I will not conclude at this point.
Alhaji Yusuf Dansale is the leader of opposition and the umbrella body of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thank you.
We take a break, everyone. But when we return, I've got a senior advocate of Nigeria. This is a legal matter. Today, the Police Service Commission has gone out to retire and order serving police officers above the age of 60 and who have served more than 35 years in the force to retire. And in all of that, this is coming on the controversy about Egbeto Tenure. We'll be joined by Ayotunde Ogunlaye, senior advocate of Nigeria, to make a sense of all of this for us. We seem to be confused, isn't it? But we need a senior lawyer to set the record straight and what the law says. We'll be right back, everyone. Join us again. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us right on the program. So today, the Police Service Commission, the PSC, has approved the retirement of police officers above 60 years old or have spent 35 years in service. The PSC took the decision at an extraordinary meeting, citing public service rule, which provides for the retirement of those who have attained those years or years of service. The statement by Ikechukwu Ani, the head press and public relations officer at the PSC, says that they did not provide any clue of how many officers may be affected. But the statement says that the commission had its 24th plenary meeting on of 27th and 28th September 2017, which approved that the force entrants should have their date of appointment in the force against the date of their enlistment. Let's speak to someone who is in the Mr. Ogunlaye is a senior advocate of Nigeria. It's live for us and give us a sense of what exactly is happening. And those will be wondering, does the police service, good evening, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Jill.
Does the Police Service Commission have powers over the retirement discipline of the IG? Because I want us to clarify, this statement affects senior officers, but does the PSC have powers based on the act to discipline, retire, or appoint the IG?
Thank you, Sheil. The Office of the Inspector General of Police is a creation of statute, which is the Police Act. That act, in its section 7, makes that office an office that is operated by law. Now, if you look at subsection 6 of that section, the section creates the tenure of office of the Inspector General of Police. The same Police Act has provisions in its section 18, particularly section 18 sub 8, that retires any member of the police force that has been in service for 35 years or has attained the age of 60 years. What is clear from this in the first instance is that, number one, the provision of section 18 that applies to police officers, every police officer, is a general provision, whereas the provision of section 7 that relates specifically to the office of the IG is a specific provision. To that extent, the law that is being given effect to by the Police Service Commission, which is section 18, does not apply in terms of the tenure of the IG. Addition to that is that the National Assembly has recently made an amendment to the provision, in fact, of that Section 18 to introduce a new subsection 8 sub A.
Through the back door?
The National Assembly does not amend laws through the back door. Once an act of the National Assembly is passed, and this point I must say that it is important as Nigerians that we respect our institutions. It is not possible for the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to pass an act through the back door.
Is it suspicious, though, that that law was amended and it just fell right on the lap of Egbetokun?
Well, the reality of the matter is that when state institutions act, the presumption of regularity follows their actions. And so as it relates to persons, we must be careful in looking at actions of state institutions. When the National Assembly amended the Police Act, the question you must ask is, was the procedure as stipulated in the Constitution for the amendment of such a statute, was it followed? It was followed. Assuming, without conceding, that there is also an issue, for instance, with any act of the National Assembly, the Constitution contains provisions that donates the powers to the court to review or revoke such a statute. The amendment that was done to the Police Act is still subsisting. And so it is the law of Nigeria as of today. Now, that law stipulates that the occupant of the office of the Inspector General of Police shall be entitled to a 4-year certain tenure, notwithstanding the provision of Section 18 sub 8. And I think that relays the issue to rest completely.
So let's look at it. By all standards for which the Police Service Commission today acted on senior officers, and it says immediate retirement, Mr. Egbetokun has fallen into that bracket and basket. Mr. Egbetokun is above the age of 60. Mr. Egbetokun would have served 35 years in service. So by the virtue of the position and extant laws that the PSC has made reference to, Mr. Egbetokun has walked into that basket. Shouldn't Mr. Egbetokun also be retiring?
Well, Shehu, I do not agree with you that Mr. Egbetokun should be retiring. And this is my reason. If you look at the provision of Section 7 that I just alluded to, firstly, the IG is appointed by the President on the recommendation or advice of the Police Council. That particular provision does not contain any reference to the Police Service Commission. So to that extent, it is my respectful submission that the Police Service Commission has no power to retire the IG. They
don't have powers
to retire the IG.
So who has the power to remove the IG or to appoint? The power of the president to appoint the IG is in the PSC is supposed to advise the president in consultation with the PSC.
The Police Council.
The Police Council, right? Yes.
Not the Police Service Commission.
The Police Service Commission deals with discipline, retirement, and welfare of police officers. Is that right?
Exactly.
So Police Council is involved in appointment of the IG.
Exactly.
And they advise the president, or they are in advisory capacity to the president and appointment of the IG.
Exactly.
Now, in this sense, if you look at what is Section 7 you were making reference to, and I'd like our viewers to be able to join in the conversation. If you take a look at it, subsection 7, 4, and 5, from subsection 7.3, part 3 of that of the Act says, this Inspector General of Police shall be appointed by the President on the advice of the Police Council from among 7 members of the police force. And subsection 4 says, the Inspector General of Police shall not be removed from office except for gross misconduct, gross a violation of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or demonstrated incapacity to effectively discharge the duties of the office. Subsection 5 says the Inspector General of Police shall only be removed from office by the President on the advice of the Police Council. And subsection 6 says the person appointed to the office of the Inspector General shall hold office for 4 years.
Just like I had alluded to earlier, it is he who appoints, which is the president in the present circumstance, that has the power to also remove. So to that extent, what the law stipulates obviates what the Police Service Commission has done to the extent that they intend their declaration to apply to the IG, which they never even mentioned.
So it cannot affect the IG. It doesn't affect the IG.
It does not.
Was the president right, or is it right for the president to keep an IG that is above the age of 60 and is served 35 years still in office?
My answer to your question is yes, and this is why. When a law is to be made or is to be amended, in our jurisprudence, you look at the purpose or what you call the ill that the law seeks to correct. Prior to now, you will find that an IG of police is appointed. Before he stays for 1 year or 2 years in office, his tenure is purportedly said to have lapsed. Whatever program that is being implemented by that particular IG ends in many cases with the tenure. However, by the nature of the police structure that we have in Nigeria and the complex security situation that we are experiencing or we have experienced, you will see the need, and you would certainly understand why the National Assembly will want certainty of tenure for the occupant of the office of the IG. When you look at the powers and the functions of that office, the IG designs the program that informs the direction of the police for the tenure of his office. That is why it is necessary for certainty of tenure. Now, the fact that what the Act has always stipulated is that the IG can only be removed if he is incapacitated. He didn't mention anything that relates to age. And you and I know that the fact that a man is 60 does not mean that the man is incapacitated. We have an IG in Mr. Egbetokun who clearly has taken the Nigerian police from where we used to know it to where it looks right now as where we want it to be. In my own opinion, I would say that there is need for deep reorganization of the police. In recent time, we have had a couple of agitations in Nigeria, particularly that has to do with the police. And this government, in the period of its campaign, promised Nigerians that it will implement policies that will address the security concerns that has to do particularly with the police in Nigeria. One of such is the amendment that was done to the Police Act to bring certainty of tenure to the office of the Inspector General of Police.
So let's look at so yesterday, later in the evening, and the office of the Attorney General of the Federation released a statement, and they said it's just to correct the notion in the public space. And this is what the AGF office says. It says the appointment of Egbetokun, which took effect from the 31st day of October 2023, would have come to an end on his attainment of 60 years of age on the 4th day of September 2024, which is last year. However, before his retirement age, the Police Act was amended to allow the occupant of the office to remain and complete the original 4-year term granted under Section 7(6) of the Act, which says, notwithstanding the fact that he has attained the age of 60 years, it has therefore statutorily extended the tenure of office of Egbetokun to and including 31st day of October 2027 in order to complete the 4-year tenure granted to him. For the avoidance of doubt, Egbetokun's continuous stay in office is in line with the provisions of the Police Act amended in 2024, which allowed the occupant of the office to enjoy a term of 4 years effective from the date of his appointment as IGP. In this case, 31st day of October 2023. The question here, Leonard Silk, is based on what the AGF says, that the law was amended to allow the occupant of the office to enjoy his 4 years. Why would the law be amended for one person?
First things first, the law was not amended for one person.
Let me read that portion again.
Yes.
However, before his retirement age, the Police Act was amended to allow the occupant of the office to remain and complete the original 4-year term granted under subsection 7C of the Act, notwithstanding the fact that he has attained the age of 60 years. The question is that the man is in office and you are amending the law to make him enjoy and benefit from the 4 year. There are 2 other IGPs who have served in the tenure or in the period in which the law was amended in 2020 and they couldn't enjoy it. They were removed from office.
Yes.
So why is Egbetokun special?
The situation that occasioned with the 2 previous IGs that were in office under the 2020 Act is that the direction of the government is different now. Under the present administration, like I had earlier alluded, there is hands on deck willing to address issues that affect the security architecture of the nation. It has nothing to do with Egbetokun. It has to do with the sanctity of the office of the Inspector General of Police and the direction that the government is taking the nation. A government comes and sees a problem, which is that Inspector General of Police after Inspector General of Police are not able to implement any serious, enduring program by virtue of their tenure in office. And then an amendment is done to the law. And by the way, because you asked the question, why is it that the amendment was done during his tenure? You will remember, Sheung, the 4th alteration to the Constitution, when it was done, particularly in Section 285, to limit the time that the court has to attend to pre-election matter. If you remember what the Supreme Court did, once a law is adjectival or procedural in nature, its effect can be retrospective. That's the Supreme Court for you. In Obayemi Toyin against Arogundade, Supreme Court says if the provision of a statute is regulating particularly time, as in the case of the tenure of retirement, it can apply in retrospect. And I dare say to you too, that if you look at the provision of that section 18 sub 8, which had always been in the 2020 Act anyway, it says every police officer, which I contend is a general provision. And then if you look at section 7, it applies specifically to the office of the Inspector General of Police. And it dictates that he has a 4-year tenure. Now, where there is a conflict between the provision of a general provision and a specific provision, the law is that the specific provision will prevail. So to that extent, whether you look at it from the angle of the 2020 Act or the amendment that was done in 2024, he has 4 years, and 4 years he ought to use in office.
So in this sense, you heard what someone like Showore has said. He said the IGP is an illegal IG. The IGP is an unconstitutional IG. He's unconstitutionally occupying that office. What do you make of those claims Showore is making?
You know what I would say to Nigerians? We have only one country, which is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It behoves on us as citizens of this nation to ensure that our institutions are protected and be very careful in some of the utterances that we make. I agree with you, Nigeria is a work in progress. It is very wrong, sir, for any Nigerian or anybody whatsoever to make a bold statement that the office of the Inspector General of Police is illegally occupied when there is a statute that has been passed by the National Assembly that legitimately puts him in that office. Now, the Constitution creates the court in Section 6 and gives it powers to adjudicate on issues. The court has not set aside that amendment. The court has not declared that office or the occupant of it to say that the occupant is occupying it illegally. It is therefore wrong for anybody to assume the position of adjudication and make such a bold statement, which is his own opinion. Mr. Sowore is entitled to express his opinion because there is freedom of expression in Nigeria. But what we should not do is to mistake our opinions and use it to replace facts and law, because that would in itself be wrong. And my opinion is that upon a proper appreciation of the law, particularly taking into consideration the amendment to the Act in 2024 and the declaration or statement or advisory issued by the Office of the Honorable Attorney General, Kayode Egbetokun, our Honorable Inspector General of Police, is legitimately occupying his office. That is the law.
Well, I mean, how do you then repose the confidence that have been somewhat that has been withering because of these question mark about whether or not the president was wrong, whether or not the law was wrongly applied, or whether or not Egbetokun is unlawfully enjoying the benefit of the law and is illegally, according to Sowore, occupying the office. The police and the IG office is an institution that opposes the law and effect or apply the law in the country. But how can it carry out its duties with all of these weight and all of this burden?
Thank you. You see, for me, and this is a very good question, I will start addressing your question by first speaking to the average Nigerian. And to say again, we do not have another country. The Nigerian police is an institution of Nigeria that is responsible for the protection of Nigerians. And so if we whittle down that institution, we have only whittled down ourselves. To the policeman, you are also a Nigerian. And so when you make life impossible for the Nigerian, you have only made life difficult or impossible for yourself. My dad will say that that policeman you see on the road is someone's father. Is somebody's brother, is somebody's husband, is somebody's family. The blood in his vein is the same like the blood in your vein. But I want to inverse that statement and address it also in this manner. My friend, Mr. Police Officer, you see that Nigerian that is approaching you at that checkpoint, whether he be driving a Mercedes-Benz C-Class or he be carrying an afro on his head, or he be wearing a t-shirt, or he be dressed like I'm dressed now, he is also a Nigerian.
So Egbetokun is validly occupying the office, and the PSC, Section 6 of the PSC Establishment Act says it doesn't have power over the IGP. And of course, in all of this, one thing that is very fundamental is that the police is serving in the interest of Nigeria. But I saw the president of the NBA who escorted Sowore to the court. Is the NBA as well? That is embodiment of your association. Is it saying that Sowore is illegally being prosecuted, or whatever police is doing to Sowore is wrong?
I'm not going to be speaking for the Nigerian Bar Association because I have not had the privilege of speaking directly to the president on this issue. But I will address the matter of the NBA from what the NBA stands for, which is promoting the rule of law. So where a Nigerian citizen is being prosecuted or is facing trial over a matter, it falls absolutely within the confines of what the NBA is set up to do, to be in court, to monitor proceedings, and ensure that the rule of law is upheld. So I don't see anything that the president did that is out of order.
Mr. Tenure, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much for explaining some aspect of this law for us. Thank you so much indeed. Appreciate it. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you on Sunday, God willing, at 8 p.m. God bless Nigeria.